In this video, we will cover using automation in systems management to easily install applications, run custom scripts on the system, and create your own custom monitors. We'll talk about how to use components to accomplish these tasks, explore the COM store, and look at how to run jobs. Let's get started. So, how does this work? Well, the heart of automation in systems management is the component. Components define what you are automating and contain the scripts that are going to be run. They are stored in the component library in your account, which is empty by default. There are three ways to get new components. You can use the COM store to browse pre-built components that WatchGuard provides. You can also start from scratch to create your own components to suit the needs of your environment. In addition, if you are managing multiple accounts, you can export useful components from one account and import them into another. Once you have components ready to use, you deploy them in jobs that execute the components on the computer, and inside monitoring policies to track custom information over time. So now that we know about the different pieces, let's take a look at how to use them. In systems management, I expanded automation on the left and selected components to view my component library. As you can see, you start with an empty library. To begin adding components, I will go to the menu on the left and select the COM store. This will open up a catalog of components provided by WatchGuard that will help you get started. You can see there are three different types of components. Application components are used to install and update programs. Script components are a catch-all for any scripts you want to run. And monitor components enable you to add custom monitors for use in monitoring policies. There are a ton of really useful components in here, and I would highly suggest reviewing the COM store in your account to find useful tools and get good ideas about what you might want to use or even create yourself. Some of my users have been having issues playing media files, so I want to have the VLC component so I can easily deploy VLC to my computers and associate the file types to play media. Once I find the component I want in the list, I simply click Add to add it to my component library. I also want to audit Windows licensing in my environment, so I will find the Windows license script and add that to my library as well. Finally, I want to monitor the status of a website. This could be a server that I am hosting that should always be online. I will find the HTTP response monitor and add it to my library. Now, when I go back to the component library, we can see the three components I added. I can open them up and review the actions that the component will be taking. I can even copy them into my own component if I want to make changes. But otherwise, these components are ready to be used. I can use them by creating new jobs. I will start by clicking Jobs on the left. This is where I can monitor the status of the jobs I am running, as well as start new jobs. I can also start new jobs from a list of devices by selecting them and clicking Create a Job at the top. Using components in jobs is a great way to add more tools to my toolkit when I'm working on a problem with a computer, to easily change settings, restart things, uninstall software, and take other actions to resolve common issues. I will click Create Job in the top right to make a new job. Once I give the job a name, I need to choose the application or script component that I want to run in this job. In this case, I will include both the components I just added. You can see that for each component I select, I will see a description, along with any variables that need to be defined. Variables are how I can make any choices I need in order for the component to run correctly. For the Windows audit, I will output the Windows license information into user-defined field 3, since I am not using that field for anything else. Then I need to set the target for this job, and I can add any combination of filters, groups, sites, and devices that I want. I will add the default filters for Windows servers and Windows desktops, so this applies to all my Windows computers. Next, I can set a schedule. I can choose for the job to just run once, or to run on a recurring schedule. I think I will run this job weekly to ensure that the Windows licensing status and VLC are both kept up to date. Any new computers added later will be automatically included in this job as well. At the bottom, I have a few options for notifications. so I can see when the job is running, and I can also choose which user on the computer will execute the job. When I create the job, it will start running on its schedule. I can see the status on the jobs page, and I can click into the job to see a breakdown of the computers running it. After the job is complete, I can even click the links here for the standard output to see the results from the computer. This information can be really helpful to identify if there are any issues or errors that I might need to troubleshoot. Now that my job is complete, if I check the details on one of my computers, I can see a couple things have changed. Under Software, VLC is now installed on the computer. And under the user-defined fields, I can see Field 3 is now populated and tells me the computer is licensed. You can see it identifies a licensed computer with the number 1, while other statuses have different numbers. So now that this user-defined field is filled in, I can do things like create a filter to show me any Windows computers that are not licensed properly by showing any computers without a 1 in that user-defined field. Or I can create a report to export the device details. I can choose the columns I want to display, include the user-defined field, and get a list of all the computers and their license status in a CSV file. Remember how I added a component for monitoring as well? To use monitoring components, I need to add a new monitoring policy. Once I create a new policy, I need to choose my monitors, and I will select the component monitor. Then I can choose the component I added earlier from the COM store and configure the settings. Like any other monitor, I can also add a response if I want to be emailed or receive a message when there is a problem. Now I can apply this policy to the computers I want in order to track this. Maybe I want a couple computers in each site to track this website, so I will know it's running correctly. After I deploy this policy, I can see the status on the computer details. If the components in the COM store are not meeting your needs, you can always create your own as well. From the component library, if I click Create Component in the top right, I can start with a blank slate. First, I need to choose a category for my component. Keep in mind, monitor components are used in monitoring policies, while application and script components are used in jobs. I can also change the security level to make this component available to run for different types of users. I might set this to a lower level to make this available for support to run. I can also include a description and a custom icon for the component if I want. Then I can choose the type of script I will be using. For this example, I will create a script using PowerShell to deploy mapped drives to my computer. First, I will set the DNS servers to 10.0.10.23 and 10.0.10.24, which are two DNS servers running in my network that enable internal name resolution. And I will apply this to all the interfaces on the computer. Then I will use the netuse command to map the drive to the computer. You can see that I have inserted a variable into the command here where I choose the drive. Below the script, I can choose the scope for the component. Since these DNS servers and map drives are only available at the headquarters, I will only add this component to that site. Then I can define the variable that I added above. I have a few options for how the administrator can choose this, either entering information into a field, picking a date, or selecting something predefined. In this example, I will include 3 different selection variables for map drives for different departments. When I run this component later in a job, I will be able to make my selection between these options. I could also add files to this component to be distributed when it runs. And at the bottom, I can add post conditions to provide some error messages and other diagnostic information. This is useful for more complicated scripts to verify they are working correctly. I will create my component and see it in the component library. This is a very basic example of how you can write your own scripts to perform custom actions. From there, I could create a new job to deploy my new component. I can select from the variables I created earlier, choose the schedule, and in this case, I might want to execute this component as a logged in user, so that user gets the map drives correctly. After the job runs, I can log into my computer and see that the DNS servers have changed, and the map drive is now visible. After I've developed some useful components, if I want to copy these to another systems management account, I can easily do that by exporting them. I simply need to hover over the options for a component I have created and select Export. I may need to accept a certificate warning, then I will be able to download a CPT file that contains the component. From there, I can go to the component library in the other systems management account and click Import in the top right to upload the file. That will do it for automation in systems management. We saw how components can be used to install software, take actions via scripts, and monitor custom information. This is just scratching the surface of what you can use components to accomplish in systems management. This is where you can customize the actions you are taking and the information you are monitoring to manage your environment successfully. We explored the COM store and saw some examples of the components that are available for you to use as a starting point. Use these as inspiration for what you can do for yourself by creating your own components.